Alright, I found my routing number. Now I can actually make something work. And that's what a cytoplasm would strive. Exciting an exoskeleton. No, you don't have an exoskeleton, but your cytoplasm thinks it is, because anything that isn't part of its system, it views as a exoskeleton. It's kind of counterintuitive because it's inside of you, and an exoskeleton would suggest it's on its exterior. Just an entire cytoplasm within your body. The structure is uncanny, where it views blood as probably its exterior, where it would be inwards and outwards via the plasma, which is very much induced in blood. The cytoplasm being either, so the blood barrier spheres would ostensibly be anything if it were an exoskeleton to the cytoplasm viewing itself as the skeleton. There are two ways to swing and miss, and they are both illustrious. One is non-invasive, and the other is just extraordinary when it doesn't need to be. Right behind me is a panel of 8 boards, and they would appear more together than they would be if they were not on vertical alignments behind them. The vertical alignments behind them are illustrious because they're invasive unless you look at it from a side angle. Cytoplasm is able to erect and eject without scrutiny because it is separate from all systems connected. If you're malnutrition, your body is not going to have the cytoplasm be as excited as it could be, so it'll be sluggish in order to maintain the central dystrophy. The central dystrophy for cytoplasma is so special because it allows it to be inacting and inert. Covalent and ionic bonds are things that happen inside of your body, and they can be determinant of how good you feel and why you're feeling good. Other things that would be suppressant can be departmentalized, and it can either be bondage or embattlement, and you don't want to be in embattlement with uncertainty and asking the question, what is an uncertainty if it's not even defined because it's not supposed to be? In the body, the physiology has a homeostasis, which means it is balanced. When your body is made not balanced because it's, you got your heart on your left side and your 2 lungs in the middle, right there, the weight is obtuse. But in homeostasis, that's where your body internally is enacting to be stable. And the moment that the temperature varies, it's looking at recorrecting itself in order to not get sick. So any deviation of temperature, you can calibrate, just as like a star twinkling is how a rainbow is, but in a stable scale, a stable rainbow has a millisecond of a star's twinkle as the compensation for color, whereas in our body is temperature can be measured in the deviation. Covalent and ionic bonding would be the dark horse in either case. External skeletons, a humanization, but then a brainwash where a skeleton could be absorbed by metallic just the same way as this bottle. Well, if it was induced into a tire at just the right angle, it would go through more than a pebble would, because it's got perforated edges. When compounds coalesced, such as petroleum jelly, it's infinity important to understand if it is a honeypot and what type of gas is being used if you're lighting it. If you try and gaslight a honeypot, you're gonna get two problems that you didn't even think was one, especially if you don't know why. The difference of a spur and a merry-go-round isn't the horses or the spikes. It's the density per portion and the rotation of symmetry. The size difference comes later. Besides that, the firecracker, if there was one on top, be just as the same as the potential of the spur having an ionic bond. Like a magnetic strip, when it can get like shocked and then your car not work inside of a thunderstorm, that arena with like really complex interactions, it's like the cytoplasma would double check what's going on if it's not in an alignment. And that's where I think some people are, they die from shock because something bad happens and their cytoplasm can't back them up, and so they just have a fail. What's a cytoplasm's drain hole? Have you ever thought like how a fish is in the aquarium? The whole thing around it is a giant like hole, because that's where it excavates its waste. So not only is its back end the hole, its whole aquarium accounts for the drain pipe. But if a cytoplasm's in your body, what would be its excavation hole? If it's just like a fish in the aquarium, what's the cytotoxic release vent? Why would you break down an entire building to make a new door? Exciting a cytoplasm, it's not that complicated. It's just like winding up one of those mechanic toys, like with a drawstring or a crank twist. What's the drawstring and the crank twist of a cytoplasm? Probably electrochemical, electric or chemically inclined. And my car keeps shutting off. I don't know, it's bad oil or it might be a bad transistor chip, because the spring inside my key has lost its spring, so the fob hangs down as the key is right in, and so in order for the car to start, the fob and the key have to be straight in order for the car to start, because the chip has to be in line with the ignition. But after the car starts, I let go of the fob and it just hangs down. And so I think for some complex like movements in the car, it looks back to the transistor chip to see if it's a line in the right spot, and when it's not, it gets confused and it just shuts off randomly. And it usually happens when I'm low on gas, and then I'll notice that the power is out and the car power steering is harder to drive it. And so with these complex arenas, I think that's what the cytoplasm regime is, and knowing if it is being like tested. Every time I say it, because my words, they strike like iron. Every time I spit, each rhyme's a syllable, straight as lines striped up. I'm caked out, shorties think they maked up, they played out. I'm on top, your face out. On the backdrop, you get laid out. On price point, you got paid what? 10 miles down south. On 6 feet, turnpike, ends one, you got 9 lights. Embattlement and entrapment is a horse of a different color if it's not a dark horse, where this tree can be blocking the very thing that has been bonded.